no prison to those who have given their souls to the Prince of Darkness.
I actually think in the description I provided, having so when I'm talking about the organizational architecture of the brain, right? I'm just saying that there are modules that are involved in discriminating between different patterns of weighting. Now, that doesn't mean that that module is the thing that's giving you the experience. I think that could be a separate part of the brain, which accompanies that part of the brain that's doing the choosing, whatever. Um, I don't think that that leads to an infinite regressive hierarchy, because I think just having the one thing would be enough to explain the choice that's being
Well,
made.
no, not I agree with that. Explain, yeah, but no, it's true that you came to the conclusion between the two. Let's say it was a A and B. It wasn't a matter of like ice cream flavors. It was like you were doing a logical a little logical system where you were actually coming up with, like, you took a test in high school or whatever. Like, it's not an opinion. You're prioritizing something, but there is something about C, the selector, that in my view must be at least different than what's constructing A and B, because
It's also different on my view.
okay. Yeah, so what you're saying from your view is you hold A and B, but I'm saying, even coming to the proposition of idea A and B, it seems like it would also be a version of what you're describing C as, of something previous, right?
I I'm not sure. Maybe you could help me by helping me understand how your theory solves this problem.
Of coming to the conclusions. Well, I would use like coherency, which wouldn't be my opinion, or I
Well,
would use logic and go, well, I have to abide by the law of identity, non-contradiction, and it would probably, if it was in some sort of form, like in a propositional form, there are rules, and we would abide by those to come to some conclusion. And any opinion I had would show up as a blemish probably in that process. And so, but if that were the case, I would still be at some point appealing to or submitting to a law, right? A law that goes beyond my opinions about things, right? So, but if what you're saying is true, that we largely just make up logic and make up all the rules, then there isn't any real absolute foundation for epistemology or knowledge. We're just kind of in this process of kind of, I wouldn't even call it making determinations, because I think from your view it would just be sort of like this mechanistic feedback loop, where it's like, here's an input, here's my output, here's my output. But then our outputs are also inputs for other people, and this is what you would call a conversation, I think, from your view. So I mean, I hope you understood what I was asking, like about the two potentially contradictory, or let's say
I could
positions that
provide the answer that you just gave me, though, right? I could say, well, when I make a choice, right, I believe what it's coherent for me to believe, given my other reasons and beliefs. But the question that you're asking me isn't about what it's like for me from the intentional stance. The question was about the ontological grounding from the physical stance, so not from my own point of view. So the question I'm asking you is that same question that you're asking me.
But
so I'm wondering, is there a soul, for example, involved?
Well, but isn't your position identical to the physical view?
I mean, I think I've answered quite a lot of your questions, and I would like for you to answer my question.
Mm-hmm. What I believe, that there's a mind. I believe in there's something about us. There's like an essence to us that's not identical to our brain state. Like, I don't have access to your brain right now, right? I can't look at your brain, but I could know the kind part of you. I could know the part of you that's like me, that gets angry or whatever, and so I can see the humanness in you. So from my view, where you and I are both made in the image of God, and we have access to supernatural things. That is not to say I don't know if supernatural to you necessarily means what it means to me, but I would consider even things like information. When we say all things are physical, and you said you are a physicalist, there are things like that are clearly not physical that we have access to. And so from that view, my worldview permits an ultimate source for those supernatural preconditions for us to be even able to talk with each other.
So I'm not sure that answers the question that you posed to me, though, because we can say suppose there's a soul substance, right? An immaterial soul substance that's mental. And this soul substance has two beliefs that it doesn't know are contradictory, but it's entertaining, A and B. And now there's a part of that soul that's choosing between them. Now, is that a different thing, or is it I don't see how there isn't just a complete parity between the kind of question you raised for me and your preferred theory?
I guess maybe it's not a perfect analogy, but maybe in your world, there's a difference between the computer mechanics and hardware of the computer and the information that's passing through the computer. Right. So
it's all a physical state to me.
Right. But meaning and information isn't physical.
Information is physical by Claude Shannon's mathematical theory of communication. And also all the definitions used in physics as a measure of entropy are physical. So, for example, yeah.
Can you give me one example of information that's physical?
Yeah, a rusted car.
What is a rusted car?
A state of entropy.
Right, but you know what a car is, but the information car is not identical to the car, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking me. Are you asking me if my word is identical?
Well, yeah. The way we use meaning and information is we transpose it onto physicality, and the physicality is never identical to the meaning or the information we attribute. So information requires a coder, an encoder, and a decoder, and what you're doing is confusing the medium through which information moves between minds. And you're confusing the medium, the thing, right, with the information about the thing. So, Rusty.
Would I say that the word I used is the thing it refers to?
Would you say what?
Would I say that the word I used is the thing it refers to?
Well, if you said a rusty car is information, yes, you would be saying they're the same.
I'd be saying that the word is the same as the car. The word information is the car.
You'd be saying the car itself is the information rusty. That the object over there is the information rusty car.
Right. The thing being referred to. So I've got to distinguish between the sentences I utter and the things that I refer to with those sentences. Right?
For instance, if I say the word is the medium, the sound, identical to the meaning?
And the conditions of use of the meaning, right? So just in case I take it the way you intend, I've understood what you've said.
Right. But if I say chair, the sound chair and the sound of our ugly English language chair is not identical to a wooden chair.
No.
But it's information. I'm giving you information, right?
So there's something called there's a semantic definition of information, is semantic information that some people use, which is to be distinguished from Shannon's use and the use in physics. Because I don't believe in propositions in the theoretical sense. Obviously, I believe in propositions in the ordinary sense of like I just provided you with a proposition or something. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in semantic information either, right? So my semantics are reducible to activities. So I reduce.
You go to pragmatic information. That's like
I wouldn't say information, but I reduce semantics to a type of activity. So the skill of being able to make shapes with my mouth that pass air through and things like that, and getting people to respond in the way.
Yeah, those to me are mediums, and you need for information you need two minds. And you need a medium to transfer, but the two minds have to understand what the code of that information is. But the code of the information, what the meaning is not identical to the physicality of the medium. So, sound waves from our vocal cords that kind of perturbate the air and hit someone's ear is never identical to the meaning that's passing through. Right? These are from the naturalist view. You can justify the mechanism that we have, the hardware, the medium that we're able to use, but the existence of the meaning between two minds is immaterial, and so is the actual transmission, right? The medium's not immaterial, right? There's a sound wave, but the meaning is never identical. And so when people say information is material, I think they're skipping a massive step, and I think it's a major problem because you can give various examples, and almost every single one I've ever interacted with, someone presents the medium as the information, and the information is never exactly identical to the thing that's that we sort of slap the word onto. Rust, what rust is and what it means, the information rust is within a larger context, a larger web of belief and knowledge. It such that we can even identify it as a thing called rust. But the physical rust on the car, nowhere in the physical of rust does there exist the meaning rust or the reference of rust, right? There's just physical. It's just physical, and maybe we have a reference point. It like looks like a rock or something, something is happening to it. But this concept of categorizing rust or even a car, it's completely immaterial. It's like mind. It's like a mind web. We all share these identities over time. It requires induction. It requires that the past is like the present and the present's like the future. That the word car and rust maintain their meaning, right? And rust, the same concept of rust in maybe like Papua New Guinea. Maybe they think a rusty car is like an old dead god or something like that, right? So the information, if information was material and rusty car was a piece of information, then someone who's never seen a rusty car would somehow come to the conclusion of a rusty car because it's embedded in the physical.
Okay.
So that was a pretty short response. Do we feel like we've come to the end of this thing, Nathan? Or we're not getting anywhere, or where are we at here?
I guess I think there's a quite a lot to unpack in what Jim Bob's saying, right? And I'm not even really sure where to begin. Like that there's so much. I mean, one thing could be to do with the way that as he's expressing his position, he's sort of just asserting it, right? But he's not really providing reason. He's just saying, look, and this is how it is, but not providing reasons to support that, and not genuinely engaging in theory comparison, I think, with the alternative candidate choice. So most of the things, for example, that are said of my theory are not things that I agree to. So I'm listening to lots of things being said that I just don't believe, right? And it's like, well, which one of those am I supposed to respond to? Like all 20? It's very...
Well, I'm sorry if that was like a big gish gallop. I didn't mean that. I just was passionate about the distinction between matter as it is and our descriptions of matter, which I believe assume a whole other set of things that just are not matter.
I know that's your view, right? But I mean, I think if the concern is to understand what my view is, and it could be the case that because it's not your view, you don't understand it yet or something, and I'm prepared to like help you understand it. But I also think I've said enough that you could charitably construct what it is that I believe out of the things that I've said.
Yeah, I mean, I was a physicalist and a naturalist. You know, I'm an oldie. I'm an old fart. So I mean, I passionately would argue with my dad about physicalism, and everything.
Well, but what about? I mean, my position, for example, like how would I respond to the things that you just said?
Well, you would, if your claim is information is material, and your example is a rusty car, and I point out that...
Well, I think firstly, I wouldn't accept the equivocation on information going on there, right? Because a rusty car is information in the sense that a physicalist is talking about it, but you're talking about semantic information, right? So I draw that distinction, which I think is very important for answering the question.
Okay. We can go to like... Let's say this, and you probably heard this line, this road before. It's like you accept meaning and language, of course, but you use it you adopt it in a pragmatic sense that it's useful to kind of describe things, and then we agree on descriptions and so forth. But things like mathematics, numbers. You wouldn't like. We would probably both agree 7 doesn't exist in the way a physicalist would say things exist, right?
Yeah, it's according to me, it's a discourse that people have. Yeah.
And 7 is not identical to a brain state, right?
It's 7 is a thing people say. It's not like, I mean, there are certain brain states that people are in when they do math sometimes.
But we all know what 7 means, as long as we understand the character, right?
I have no idea what other people have in mind when they say 7 to me. Someone could be saying 7 and
Right.
feel pain, right? Someone could be saying 7 and have the color red in mind. Someone could be saying 7 and have nothing in mind. They could be a pea zombie.
Right. But the concept 7, if someone said there's 7 of them over there, we wouldn't be like, oh, you're feeling
I'd know
pain.
how to respond. Well, exactly. I wouldn't respond that way,
Right.
because of my training around how to use the number 7. But that doesn't mean I know anything about what's going on in their head.
Right. But the concept of 7 could sound like, saxophone could have replaced 7, right? So I understand you were trained for the character and the sound 7 to mean a certain thing in the context of math, right? Counting things. So we're not talking about the character itself 7, but the meaning of 7 in number theory, in our way to talk about numbers in mathematics. We all know what we mean by 7, right?
Yes, I agree with that.
Right.
And what did I say meaning was earlier in the conversation?
I forgot. You can remind me.
I said that meaning was successful use.
Successful use, right. So successful meaning one brain understands the meaning of a singular thing or a collection of words.
No.
Between what do you mean by successful?
So by successful, I mean that you use the language as a tool to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So so the other person will respond in the way that you want by using that word as a tool.
Oh, so you could just use it with you could just use any sounds as long as it fulfilled the arbitrary goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so are you saying the pursuit of knowledge and its methodology is arbitrary?
It depends what you mean by arbitrary there, because I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Like arbitrary in what sense? Like it doesn't matter, or?
Yeah, like in other words, things need to mean something regardless of the arbitrary goal, right? So when you say successful, it means like I have a goal X. Let me use language to get to goal X. And you kind of see it like a sort of like a programming system, and you could kind of alter the meanings of X and Y and such. But I'm talking about the shared meanings between people. If the goal is to get to the truth, right? Two people have to actually share the same meaning, even if they have different arbitrary goals on the side. Like, say, someone has a goal to win, but they also want to argue for the truth, right? So they have multiple goals in mind. When we are arguing right now, we're both agreeing. Are we both agreeing on the goal to get to the truth of whether naturalism is coherent?
I think so. I mean, I think that, I'm not sure. Maybe your goal is this, but I think your goal might be to sort of try to maybe humiliate a position that isn't theism, or to show how weak it is. And maybe this isn't your goal, though, but I kind of overwhelmingly get the sense from the people who are supporters of the kind of Precept view that is their goal, to sort of try to humiliate the alternative view.
I sympathize with your categorization. You're wrong about me particular, but the people that are generally maybe in and around the communities and they show up, some of them are volatile, and I would agree that they actually occur that way. So I'll grant you that exists. I'm just telling you that that's not my intention. I don't want to humiliate you or anything. I want to extrapolate what naturalism is, and then I want to come to the logical consequences of it. And ultimately, I would want you to abandon it, regardless if I ended or buttoned with the olive branch of any particular theological position. I think the naturalist position, as it stands alone, should be rejected, just because I don't think that you can account for again the selector as we
Oh,
talked
hang
about.
on. We're at an hour 15 in. Nathan does have a train to get on. He has to go buy a new shirt, right? He's so we've
Well,
got to
some-
get
I-
to the closing statements and the super
Yeah.
chats, guys.
Well, I think that the reason I did this is, I mean, my part of my view is that what motivates some presuppers, and perhaps not Jim Bob, given what he just said, right, is this idea that in order to be masculine and tough, you have to be able to shut up the non-believer and have the laws of logic and all this. And I've definitely got that sense from the chat. And someone's like, Nathan needs to have some stakes and weights, right? It's like, people don't know that. Like, I trained MMA for years. Like, I got cauliflower ears. A purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I'm fairly jacked. I've got a really good 5K time. And I love trans people and don't think the laws of logic exist, right? Like, all of these things can be true at the same time. You don't need to, you don't need to ground your sort of, like, masculine insecurities in these things.
Wait, Nathan, are you saying that you took off your shirt to own the chat?
That's right.
Okay, I mean, okay, fair enough.
Own the conservatives.
Yeah, I'm not really following, but it's all right. We're gonna move into closing statements.
They get it.
Nathan,
They get it.
We'll start with you.
If I took off my shirt, it would look like the light went out.
Well, that's probably what it looks like with me, right? Like, well, not that like the lights, all being reflected back. Okay, so I guess in terms of the debate topic, right, is naturalism coherent? I don't think that there has been a kind of contradiction generated for naturalism. And so, I mean, I think that just by default sort of means that I win. But I think that the framing of like winning and losing debates is unhelpful. I kind of hope that Jim Bob has a better understanding of my position and what it is and what I've got to say. I am interested in what his alternative is as well, because I think that there's a lot of effort spent by people, particularly theists, but people who reject naturalism, in pointing out that there are, certain problems for the position or difficulties in understanding it. But then very little is said about how alternative explanations actually do anything better. So, for example, all the problems that were raised for my physicalism are true of solely substances, right? Like about how they choose and what the processes are involved and so on. Or how theism actually makes sense of any of this, what it is about, God's causal powers and God's decisions, which is supposed to explain any of this better than the natural alternative. So, those are basically just my closing thoughts on the discussion, and hopefully I've shown that we can divorce the discussion about what's true from kind of like masculine chest thumping and stuff like that as well, which it has just got very well. It has a lot to do with it, but it shouldn't.
Well,
I feel like you started it though, right? Like the masculine.
I was reacting to the chat.
Okay, fair
Well,
enough.
I
And
will
then
not be
the
doing
shirt's
any.
off, and he's like, "I won." That's a Chad moment, I guess, right? It's just,
I
can
can't.
go
Okay.
all the way and get my dick out like that.
oh my God, no! Don't do that. For the love of God, don't do that. Jim Bob, you're up with your closing.
Well, I've long given up on the masculine chest thumping. I have really narrow shoulders. It just looks like I'm dancing. So I'm not going to do that. As far as naturalism being coherent or not, I think what I was trying to point to, whether it was effective or not, is that naturalism itself can't account for why coherentism or why being coherent is even required at all, or how you could get to it, being that it's purely a mechanistic world. It's a machine that is just output input, including us as individuals. Our brains are simply taking in, processing, putting out. So there's no priority. There's no third party. Again, the reference to selector C. If opinion A in naturalism is me saying stuff, and opinion B is under naturalism is Nathan saying stuff, then under naturalism, selector C is also just another opinion. There's no way to determine the veracity between A and B, because C itself is just another form of A and B. In my view, in my critique of naturalism, no different than a blade of grass growing, bubbles coming from a hot spring, lightning, pure mechanics, right? And
you you